So who's excited to be here? Excuse me? Can you do it again, please? Sorry. There you go! Yeah! So I'm going to take you guys on a little adventure. But first a little bit about me. When I was a wee little squirt blossom, I moved from Bangladesh, the curry capital of the world, to America, the Big Mac capital of the world. And I don't remember much from that plane ride over, except that I was afraid. I was afraid because the world was much bigger than me, but smaller than my imagination. I do remember, however, that the plane experienced quite a bit of turbulence, and I regurgitated the contents of my Bangladeshi culture onto my mother's unfortunate lap. To this day, sweet rice cakes and spicy lamb curry still don't settle well in my stomach. From a young age, my parents drilled into my head two very important concepts. One, you're going to be a doctor. No exceptions. And two, always stay close to your roots. And for that reason alone, I grew up believing that I was a plant. I would go out to a park and see all my long-lost brethren. And it was a very awkward childhood. And it didn't help that my parents said I was down to earth because I'm short. And staying close to my roots was the reason why my family and I revisited Bangladesh for the first time when I was 12 years old. I didn't know much about the country except that it was poor and it flooded a lot. But despite this, my mother used to tell me of her awesome childhood in Bangladesh. For instance, after school, she would hide low in the rice paddies outside her neighborhood, and as an unsuspecting farmer or fisherman were to walk by, she would just jump out and scare the curry out of them. No, I'm being serious. These farmers just dropped their curry they brought for lunch. And I wanted to experience this. I wanted to have this sort of Jungle Book adventure with dancing bears and all that cool stuff. But I found the exact opposite of that when I got there. As soon as I got off that plane to Bangladesh, and this time I didn't throw up, thank goodness, I was met by the smoggy Bangladeshi air. It constricted my lungs like an anaconda, making it so difficult to breathe. The roads were rickety and battered, and the only greenery I could see for miles out were the greens of plastic bottles littered everywhere. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst of it was the people. The poor, struggling, begging people. Many of whom were the sick and elderly. How could I look them in the eyes when I knew that they were suffering from common illnesses like the common cold or the flu? Sicknesses here in the United States that can be cured from a trip to CVS or Walmart. But the many, many more of these poor people were actually orphan children, no younger than you and me. Imagine coming home one day and finding your parents gone, nowhere to be seen because they couldn't afford to keep you, let alone keep themselves. If home is where the heart is, do the homeless feel love? I felt an emptiness, not in my stomach like the millions of starving people, but in my soul. And so days passed and I visited a small park, one of the few public green spaces in the capital city of Dhaka. And even that place was not bereft of the constant reminder of poverty. There was only one playground for the whole park and a polluted stream that went by. But one corner of the park in particular caught my eye. It was a group of homeless boys that were selling flowers they had picked up from the exact same park to get something to eat. The Bangladeshi people called them the tokai, the forgotten boys of Bangladesh. And I watched for several minutes as people just ignored them, walked by them, and more often than not, just walking straight through them. And I felt bad because at the end of the day, I was guaranteed food, and they were not. So I went and bought flowers from these boys. And at this point in my life, I thought I was helping these children. But in reality, they were helping me. See, they were smelly, and they didn't know what school was, and they were poor, and they had flies buzzing around their ears. And yes, they were sad, incredibly sad, but they were positive. Even though chance and circumstance took away their lives, liberties, and pursuits of happiness, there were two things that could not be taken away from them. One, the tokai had memories of each other. Our memories are vital to who we are. And they may be vague. My fondest memories are so hazy that when I reach out to recall them, it's like I'm trying to strangle air with my bare hands. Memories are like the road maps which guide us through the can'ts and the won'ts in life until we cross the finish line of we made it. Wherever that is, I don't know. But I do know that memories are in a market in undersupply, a market ready to plunge deeper and deeper into depression, the human depression. The tokai had memories of each other, a unity that could not be broken. While they were not brothers by birth, they were brothers by a much stronger thing, by life. And secondly, the tokai had hope for a better Bangladesh. They spoke in a language I did not yet understand. But they say the language of hope can even be understood by the deaf who roam the streets of "Are we there yet?" or "Who am I?" They had all these creative ideas and solutions to Bangladesh's plethora of problems. They did not want to sit there and watch life pass them by. But poverty silenced their voices. Poverty is a perpetual cycle that goes on, like that song on the radio you never wanted to hear, but always do. See, children in Bangladesh and too many countries like it are struggling because they are not actively empowered. And it's quite simple, actually. It's not rocket science. How can someone put their time into pursuing their passions and creating actual change, which they want to do, if they're focused on survival? To alleviate poverty is to give young people a say in things. And to have a say in things is to have passion. And I know passion is a word that's thrown around a lot, especially in our generation. We have passion this, passion that, passion fruit. Passion fruit? But I didn't realize the significance of passion until a day after school. So how many of you are student athletes? Let me see a show of hands. How many of you have played a sport? Anything at all? Okay, a good bit of you. So my team from school just made the playoffs, and my coach decided to go all crazy on us and ramp up practice. So I came home one day with bruises and cuts and sweatiness and disgusting stuff, and I had an AP chemistry test the next day, and I was not going to fail this one. I promised myself that. Days like that made me never want to go back to math team practice ever again. So naturally, I did what any productive teenager would do: procrastinate. I found myself gravitating towards the TV remote, slowly but surely, and flipping through the channels one after another, until it hit me. I had an epiphany at the weirdest times to have an epiphany. On the screen was a brilliant young lady who said something that changed my life forever. And she said, and I quote, "A dollar makes me holla, honey boo boo." Ladies and gentlemen, honey boo boo was onto something. She's a genius. Why don't people give her credit? But she found what made her holler. Her passion. Passion is a compelling force that allows us to accomplish the unaccomplishable, to make possible the seemingly impossible. Some common passions include reading, eating, underwater basket weaving, Nutella. Who's passionate about Nutella? There you go. Raise the roof. So Honey Boo Boo's passion was stacks on stacks on stacks of money, and competing in beauty pageants was her way of accomplishing this passion of hers. And so passion is divided into two parts: the dreaming and the doing. And as young people, I think we're often stuck on that first part, the dreaming. We're often told to dream big. But what's the point of dreaming brilliantly if those dreams do not come to fruition? It's like not dreaming at all. You have to physically go out and do something about it. Oftentimes, people assume I'm a guru. I don't know why. So they come up to me and they're like, "Hey Hasib, why did I wanna get an A on this test, this language arts test?" Okay, that's great. You want it, but what are you actually going to do to get that? To get an A on that language arts test, you have to read Spark Notes. Before finding my passion, my life consisted of this very, very interesting routine, this daily routine. Wake up. How many of you wake up? That's good, that's good. I'm glad. Eat soggy cereal, go to school, study, eat soggy rice, sleep. Lather, rinse, and repeat. 365 days a year. Bereft of a passion of something greater than myself, days became undistinguishable. I realized that I was not living life, but rather I was letting life pass through my fingertips. Sure, I was alive. I was breathing and conducting electrical synapses in my brain. But so were 7 billion other people on the earth at the exact same time. What made me different from them? What set me apart? I was a number, a statistic, not an individual. I found something that I like to do. I like to empower people, and I like to make people laugh. And I found a way to combine those two things by working with environmental organizations and speaking and just, goofing off. Just goofing off. And so through those ways, I found a way to do something that was greater than myself. You can plan all you want, but the only way to do it is just to do it. Most people's destinies are not predetermined. They're not written down on a piece of paper and what you want to accomplish. Once one thing gets done, that opens up so many more horizons for you. So because at the end of the day, there's never been anyone like you in history ever before. And there will never be anyone like you in history for history to come. So just think about all that potential you have to create change. You have that spark. You have that potential. But you have to do something and act upon it. So the easiest thing you can do is just to be like Honey Boo Boo and find what makes you holler. Thank you very much.